I have no clue what my neighbors are doing, but it sounds like they're either watching The Hobbit or listening to Gregorian chanting. Hey guys, I love reading series, but sometimes it can be hard to find the right series for you, and depending on the length, can be a bit of a time commitment. So I usually stick to standalones. Today I'm going to be recommending some of my favorite standalone books for you. This is part of the Goodreads group monthly recommendations, which was created by Trina over at Between Chapters, and I'll leave the link to the Goodreads group down below in the description so that you guys can join in on all of the fun. I have 5 books that I want to recommend for you guys today. They're mostly YA. So let's get started. The first book that I want to talk about today is one of my most favorite books of all time. It's kind of a funny story by Vizzini. This book is about a boy named Craig, and Craig is a high school student at a very prestigious school in New York City. Because of the school that he attends, he's usually under a lot of stress, and he has a lot of stress and anxiety, which causes him to attempt suicide. On his way to the Brooklyn Bridge to attempt suicide, he kind of comes to his senses and realizes that he needs some help and checks himself in to the hospital. However, the teenage psychiatric ward is under construction, and so the teens have been moved to the adult ward, and Craig has to stay there for 2 weeks. It's really moving, very heartwarming, and I think that it did a great job of tackling how stress makes you feel and how anxiety and stress and panic can really control your life, but it doesn't have to define you, and you can get better. I love this book so much. I'm actually going to be giving it a reread soon because I recently purchased this book again. I bought it probably 3 or 4 times because I keep lending it out to people, and that's fine. They can just go ahead and keep it because I will keep buying this book because I love it so much. Another YA contemporary book I have for you guys today is Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. Rainbow Rowell is one of my most favorite authors of all time. She writes mostly standalones, so you can check out some of her books. She has YA and adult books, and I own every single one of her books because I love her. But Eleanor and Park is about a romance between 2 teenagers, and it's really amazing. I love this book so much. The romance just feels so genuine, and this book made me feel so happy. I read it, I think, in 1 sitting because it's just that good. So if you haven't given this a read yet, I definitely recommend picking it up as soon as possible. Sorry if the lighting or angle just changed all of a sudden because Mally was meowing and I went to pick her up and just knocked over my entire tripod and camera and light, and I think I broke my light a little bit, but no big deal, just moving on, back to the recommendations. The next 2 YA contemporary books I have for you guys I don't actually own, but they were still really amazing. I read them both from the library because that's the only way I could get my hands on them. The first one is Forbidden by Tabitha Suzuma. This is not for young readers. Even though it's YA, I definitely wouldn't recommend reading it if you're younger than 17. So that makes it more of a new adult book, even though the characters are much younger. It deals with some very taboo topics. So if you do decide to pick up this book, I would recommend going in with a very open mind. I loved this book very much. It made me very sad, and it is beautifully written. I don't want to talk about it too much because I went in not knowing really what it was about or what was going to happen, basically, but I still really enjoyed it, even though the topic is extremely taboo. Yes, definitely read at your own risk, but it's a very great eye-opening read. The second one I have for you is My Heart and Other Black Holes by Jazmine Warga. This book is about 2 teenagers sisters who decide that they want to commit suicide, but they don't want to do it alone. So they meet each other over the internet and form a suicide pact. It is heartbreaking how openly they talk about the things that they talk about. I can't really describe it any other way than that. I'm so incredibly happy that I read this book. If you have not picked that one up, definitely recommend picking that one up as well. However, there are, of course, triggers for suicide, depression, and anxiety. So keep that in mind. Next is a YA thriller novel, and it is Don't Look Back by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I love this book so much. It's one of Jennifer L. Armentrout's books that I don't hear about too often. It's about a girl who went missing and she wakes up in a hospital and doesn't remember anything about her life. Can you see a trend with books that I'm reading lately? Because but the thing is that her best friend is still missing. And so she has to try to figure out what happened the night they went missing, who did this to them, and there are so many twists and turns that I did not see coming at all. This book was amazing and you should totally pick it up. Okay, now I have some adult books to talk about. The first one, going along with Don't Look Back, is Remember Me by Sophie Kinsella. As you guys know, I just read this recently and I absolutely loved it. I loved it so much. I'm gonna leave my book review linked around here somewhere. Not sure where. Up here, I don't know what side it's on. But this is about a woman. She was 25 years old and she was out one night clubbing with her friends and slipped and fell and hit her head. And when she wakes up, she's in the hospital. She's 28 years old after just getting in a car accident and doesn't remember the past 3 years of her life. The last thing she remembers is being out with her friends that night. She is really scrambling to put the pieces back together on what happened in those 3 years. There's a lot of really funny moments, but it is a lot more serious than I thought it was going to be. It's very sad to see how the people in her life were manipulating her, and yeah, it was really great. I fell in love with Sophie Kinsella's writing. I picked up another book of hers, so if you haven't checked out any of Sophie Kinsella's books, I definitely recommend running out and grabbing as many as you can because they're amazing. And last, I wanted to recommend an author for you guys who writes a ton of books, and all of her books are standalones, and it is Jodi Picoult. I love Jodi Picoult's writing so much because it blends ethical issues into her writing, ethical and moral issues, and it usually has to do with court cases or law or people having to decide what is right and what is wrong, and there's challenges and family and friends, and there's just so much going on in all of her books. My 3 favorite books by her are My Sister's Keeper, Salem Falls, and 19 Minutes. Those are the ones that I have read. I also own, what is it? The 10th Circle, which is pretty good so far, and her YA book Between the Lines, which is completely different. I haven't read it yet, but it is completely different from any of her other books. So there's a wide range of different storylines that you can choose from, and I just kind of look at the synopsis and figure out if the issues being talked about in the books are issues that I care about, then I'm more likely to read those books. So definitely look into Jodi Picoult if you haven't yet. Again, she writes mostly adult, but she does have that one young adult book as well. I have to go because Mally is climbing everything. So let me know what some of your favorite standalone books are down below in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye! Mally, what are you doing?